And action. All right, Tim had a question about guided imagery. And guided imagery is one of my favorite forms of mindfulness. For those of you who, and that's probably most of my patients, for those of you who don't have a mindful practice, you probably do, just didn't realize it. So mindfulness is a way to get the brain to kind of not concentrate on those things around in the environment, not concentrate on listening for when the next text mail is coming into the phone, not concentrate on the telephone, not concentrate on the cars outside. Sometimes we'll pay attention. If you watch my previous videos on DrRic tutorial relaxation practice or DrRic tutorial, I think I did actually on mindfulness, you'll understand how the brain has its way of exercising itself. And when I say that is, you have to get through a routine and get better at having that organ system work. Everybody knows that if you want muscle to work better, you practice your sport every day, sometimes twice a day, especially in football in the summertime before season starts, and you get really good really fast to play football or to play your sport. Now, to be very resilient in the mindfulness department, resiliency has something to do with how you bounce back from challenges or from stressors in life. And it doesn't mean that you have to be stressed out. Every human being has a stress reaction and a love reaction. Love reaction is what happens when you get that lump in your throat, when you meet somebody, you fall in love, or you see an emotional movie or scene, or you see somebody hug somebody else, you see a little kid visit her dad or see her dad for the first time in years as a vet, and they hug. It's kind of, ooh, I'm choking up already. But you feel that way because we're built as humans to feel compassion towards that kind of love response. You're also built to defend. So the two basic premises of the way the body exists is parasympathetic or sympathetic. The sympathetic response is you problem solve, you take care of a threat quickly. And whether it's a gun or whether it's some kid that's driving 20 miles an hour in a 50-mile-an-hour zone when you're on your way to work and you have 5 minutes to get there and it's already 2 minutes. So those are stressors. Even if you handle those things properly, and a lot of my truck drivers handle things well, those are still stressors that you have to call out the sympathetic response to. So when you have to keep on calling out the sympathetic response, even if you're well adjusted to it, that means you've got to turn on sympathetic, turn on sympathetic. Even though it's low level, you still have to do something, and that response does not allow parasympathetic to be around. So you're either in sympathetic or you're in parasympathetic. So sometimes, even if you handle all those things great, if your adrenal functioning, and when I get your DHEA and your cortisol testing is low, or I'm finding you're waking up totally unrefreshed, or I'm finding that your mood is terrible, your erectile dysfunction is getting worse, your sexual desires are low, it's probably because you're all sympathetic. So that sympathetic system is great, but not all the time. Parasympathetic would be better. Again, you can only exist in one or the other. You can't be in both. So one of the things that kind of neutralizes that sympathetic response, especially if it's been firing off all day long, is a good mindful practice. So I said all that just to get back to my original thing for Tim about mindful practice and guided imagery. So let's get into it. Some of my young folks, you'll have a mindful practice already, especially if you're a baseball pitcher, or if you're a basketball player, or if you're a soccer kicker, or if you're a dart thrower, a bowler. You know, there's always that time when you're just getting ready and you hold the object in the sport and you just take a deep breath and calm down, no matter what the crowd is saying, and then you shoot. And usually we'll try to, anybody who's been there will have that tunnel vision. I used to have it in track and field. No matter how the guys, I'm a sprinter, so at the start of a sprinter, at the start of a 100-meter race or 220, you'll always have the sprinters, all the muscular guys, and I was skinny back then, but you always have these muscular guys with the fanciest track suits, I'll talk trash, and they're trying to get into my head, and then I just said, I'm some Asian kid, I'm going to be slow, and I cook them on the track. But it took a lot for me to calm, and usually it's the tunnel vision that I get when I start right before the gun goes off. I'm in my three-point stance, everything's quiet, I'm just thinking, break the tape, and I'm just visualizing myself breaking the tape. Well, and I visualize everybody behind me, and that's the way I did it. A lot of my people who aren't in track and play a ball sport, you can do it by thinking about the ball going through space in slow motion, trying to get to where it has to get to, trying to get to where you want to put it. Even before you let go of the ball, if you just imagine and visualize, you get into your ready stance, you slowly go through the physical movement of letting go, actually taking aim, putting some power in it, letting go, and then watching the evolution of the ball go through the air. Whether it's a basketball free throw, or a baseball pitch, a changeup, or a bowling ball that's going down and trying to get a curve. You don't get the curve just with the throw. You don't get the basket just with the let go part. You do. It's all part of the prepping. The way the knees bend down, the way the arms go back. So sometimes just going through that, if you've done it before, go through in your mind's eye, closing your eyes or opening your eyes, it's up to you, turning off the lights, focusing on one spot. That's called, well, sometimes in yoga, we have people focus on one spot, just so that you can kind of stop being aware of everybody around you, how they're doing their yoga. And it's called a drishti. But if you focus on a drishti, if you focus on one spot on the court, if you focus on one spot where the catcher's mitt is, or where the pins are, and you just keep your concentration on that. And while you're concentrating with your eyes, you actually visualize in your mind the procedure that you're going to be going through. Even if it's slow motion or it's fraction of a second, when your mind goes through it, there's something called mirroring. And when you mirror, your mind goes through the position of win or success, and it actually will do those movements. Even if you don't think about it, it'll do those movements. I used to be a target shooter, competitive in Florida, and we try to practice the drawing of the gun and the firing of the target, even under pressure and under the noise. But if you just practice over and over again, even without doing this with your finger or with your gun, just practice and visualize it happening. When the heartbeat starts to come out upon you, you can start to slow down because you've visualized over and over again going through the procedure or the maneuver, and your heart rate slows down. You start to become parasympathetic dominant instead of sympathetic dominant, and you've just turned up the stress response. Even in that normal activity, you turn up the stress response, and that is what we're supposed to do. So Tim, I didn't go through the entire walking through a visualization process or going through the ball, going through the air, getting to the basket, but I went through the construction of what to do. So you'll have to kind of do it on your own, but hopefully this gives you an idea about how you're supposed to do this. And if you spend 5 to 10 minutes doing this in the morning, 5 to 10 minutes of doing this at night, the brain, at least during those 2 sections of 5 to 10 minutes twice a day, has just got itself away from the stressors of the day, and it's kind of going through imagination, that garden of dream state. And it will release a ton of serotonin, and that serotonin will work on the body systems and last for a while. Now, I like to say when people get back from vacations, they still feel good even after the vacation is done. They're still cooking, they're still feeling great for about a week. You'll see the smiles on their faces, the problem solving is a cinch, and nothing will affect them because they're still on that high. That's a serotonin high. Watch my video on serotonin high. So if you practice on a regular basis, you might just get to the point where after 21 days or so, like the Chopra Center, I always love the guided imageries that Deepak and Oprah go through in their 21-day meditation challenges. That's essentially what they do. So they're free. You should listen to them on the Chopra website. But if you do it on a regular basis long enough, then the body will actually just be able to drop in with 5 minutes or 2.5 minutes, and it'll be effortless. Kind of like training. If you train every day for a 5K, you actually don't have to train as much because your muscles will be cruising, ready to go, immediately ready to run or to lift weights. So that's why training of the muscles is important, repetitive. That's why training of the brain is also important, repetitive, or of the mood and the emotion. So good question, Tim. Hopefully this gives you a little bit of feedback maybe one of these days.